She was Motown's shining jewel, a voice that defined a generation. But behind that velvet voice was steel. And some of the biggest bands in history? She couldn't stand them. Why did Diana Ross walk out of rehearsals, blacklist whole groups, and refuse legendary collaborations? Today, we reveal the 6 bands Diana Ross secretly hated most, and the real reason she never forgave them. Stay with us, because the final band on this list, it almost cost her everything. Diana Ross and the Temptations. On paper, it looked like a match made in Motown heaven. 2 powerhouse acts rising at the same time under Berry Gordy's dream machine. They sang together. They toured together. And eventually, they were paired for a full-blown collaboration album. But what the public never saw was the Cold War playing out backstage. From the beginning, Diana had her suspicions. The Temptations, especially Otis Williams and David Ruffin, saw themselves as the true kings of Motown. And when Diana Ross started receiving solo attention while still with the Supremes, whispers began circulating. The collaboration album was titled Diana Ross, and the Supremes joined the Temptations. But behind the scenes, ego clashed. Diana felt overshadowed. The Temptations felt disrespected. One performance in Chicago turned into a disaster when Diana reportedly refused to go on unless her mic volume was higher than everyone else's. The Temptations walked off. Fans never found out why the encore was canceled. Years later, Diana admitted in a private interview that working with the Temptations was never about unit. It was always a chess game. But why the deep hatred? Some say it was David Ruffin's on-stage taunts, mocking Diana's vocals mid-performance. Others claim the Temptations secretly plotted with other Motown acts to push Diana out of Berry Gordy's inner circle. And when Gordy began grooming Diana for solo success, the rivalry turned to open resentment. But it didn't stop there. Diana believed the Temptations tried to sabotage her, requesting last-minute set changes, undermining stage crews, even spreading rumors about her backstage behavior. She saw them not as colleagues, but as enemies in disguise. The final nail came in 1970, when Diana went solo. The Temptations publicly congratulated her. But in private, Otis Williams allegedly told a young Marvin Gaye, "She won't last without us." Decades later, Diana refused every reunion tour involving the Temptations. Her team would cancel appearances if they were booked at the same festivals. And that lingering silence between them? It speaks louder than any song. Diana Ross hated the Rolling Stones. And not in the dramatic, tabloid kind of way. She hated them for something they did, and something they refused to undo. The year was 1981. Diana was already a global star, and her solo act had reached Europe in a big way. The Rolling Stones were touring, and a multi-artist mega show in the UK brought them onto the same bill. The story goes that Diana was promised a prime-time slot. Her team had negotiated this carefully. It was about dignity, equality, and not being overshadowed. But when Mick Jagger and Keith Richards found out, everything changed. According to insiders, the Stones' management pulled strings. Diana was bumped to an earlier time. When her crew protested, they were reportedly told, "This is a rock show. Diana's lucky to be on it." Diana showed up, but something snapped. She performed with ice in her veins. Cold, distant, no encore. Backstage, she allegedly told her team, "This isn't about music. This is about power, and I'm done playing their game." For years after, she turned down UK rock collaborations. Even when Paul McCartney tried to organize a charity single with her and members of the Stones in 1985, Diana refused. To this day, she's never shared a stage with the Rolling Stones again. She doesn't mention them in interviews. No tributes, no nostalgia, just silence. What hurt more than the schedule change was the message. In a world still struggling with race and gender equity, Diana saw the incident as a reminder. No matter how big she got, there were doors she'd never be allowed to fully walk through. Most fans would never pair Diana Ross and the Beach Boys. But behind the soft surf harmonies and good vibrations was a rift Diana never fully forgave. In the late 60s, both acts were at a crossroads. Motown was expanding. The Beach Boys were redefining their sound. Capitol Records and Motown execs floated an idea, a soul meets surf crossover album. Something experimental, something different. It never happened, and Diana made sure of it. According to her personal biographer, Diana was initially intrigued until she attended a private rehearsal session with Brian Wilson and Mike Love. She left mid-session, furious. Why? Sources close to Diana claim the band members made offhand comments about Motown's assembly line style of music. Diana took it personally. She believed the Beach Boys looked down on soul. She later said, "They didn't hear our music. They heard noise with rhythm." After that, she made a decision. No Beach Boys. No covers. No mentions. When Berry Gordy brought it up again in 1972, Diana flatly refused. Not even a Christmas special. Things got worse when the Beach Boys allegedly blocked her from appearing on a late 70s collaborative TV special, fearing it would skew the tone. Whether or not that's true, Diana took it as confirmation they didn't respect her. Years later, Mike Love praised Diana Ross in an interview, calling her a defining figure in American music. Diana never responded. When the Beach Boys were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Diana skipped the event, despite being invited as a guest of honor. Some wounds go deep. This one? It was never even bandaged. This one hurts to say. The sixth band Diana Ross hated wasn't one fans even knew she was close to. Fleetwood Mac. Yes, Fleetwood Mac got. In the early 80s, Diana was coming off the high of her solo success and exploring new musical directions. Her management had a wild idea. Pair her with Stevie Nicks for a duet album. 2 voices, 2 legacies, 1 unforgettable record. But behind the scenes, things went wrong. Fast. Diana reportedly visited a Fleetwood Mac rehearsal in Los Angeles. She brought ideas, lyrics, chords, but she was met with indifference. Stevie Nicks was cold. Lindsey Buckingham barely acknowledged her. And Mick Fleetwood allegedly told Diana's manager, "She doesn't fit the vibe." The phrase "doesn't fit the vibe" haunted Diana. She saw it as code, a polite rejection of everything she represented: soul, power, femininity, control. She left the studio and told her team, "I've sung through riots, I've faced death threats, but this is humiliation." It hit hard. Fleetwood Mac went on to win awards. Diana went on to record her own successful albums. But in interviews, when asked about collaborations she regretted missing, she never mentioned Fleetwood Mac. Because in her mind, she didn't miss it. She was pushed out. The emotional toll of that rejection, after everything she'd endured and achieved, was something even Diana Ross struggled to hide. For someone who had fought her way to the top in a world that often said no, Fleetwood Mac's cold shoulder was the final brutal reminder. Not everyone wanted her at the table, even when she deserved the head seat. This one shocked the world when it came to light. How could Diana Ross, who introduced the Jackson 5 to the world, who stood beside them during their first public appearances, secretly resent them? But beneath the glitz of Motown promotion and public smiles, Diana Ross's relationship with the Jackson 5 became a slow-burning fire of disappointment, competition, and betrayal. Let's rewind. In 1969, Berry Gordy placed Diana Ross front and center in launching the Jackson 5. The group was billed in their early promotional campaigns as Diana Ross presents the Jackson 5. But here's the truth. Diana didn't discover them. She didn't even want to take credit at first. She was hesitant. Why? Because Diana saw something dangerous in a young Michael Jackson. Not personal danger, professional. Michael was a prodigy, and Gordy knew it. Ross feared that elevating the Jackson 5 too quickly, too prominently, would make her the queen maker instead of the queen. For the first few years, things stayed respectful, but cracks formed as Michael's star rose. He started getting prime radio slots. Media began comparing his charisma to Diana's. At just 12 years old, Michael was already being called the next Ross, and that stung. Behind the scenes, insiders say Diana complained to Berry Gordy about her diminishing spotlight. She was no longer the center of Motown's marketing. Tour budgets shifted. Writers and producers were reassigned from Diana's solo projects to work with the Jackson 5 duo. And then came the final straw. In 1973, Motown began discussing a potential TV special called Motown Royalty, featuring Diana Ross, Smokey Robinson, and the Jackson 5. Diana demanded creative control. But when producers leaned toward making it a Jackson's-focused project with Diana as the mentor, she walked. No contract, no special, nothing. Later, Michael Jackson reflected in his autobiography that Diana was always kind, but distant in the later years. He didn't understand why, but her friends did. To Diana, the Jackson 5 weren't just the future of Motown. They were the threat to her legacy inside Motown. They were everything she had fought to build, being handed over to someone else. She never publicly criticized Michael or his brothers. She even maintained a cordial relationship with him in later years. But in private, she called their early style a mirror image of her Supremes-era show. She felt robbed of recognition. Worse yet, Diana reportedly refused to perform on stage with the Jacksons ever again, despite numerous invitations. When asked in a 1991 interview if she'd consider a Supremes Jackson 5 reunion special, she simply said, "Some eras are better left in the past." Those close to her knew exactly what she meant. This final entry is one that almost no one expected. What could possibly connect Diana Ross to Led Zeppelin, the gods of hard rock? Well, a recording studio, a cruel joke, and a moment that Diana never forgot. It was 1972. Diana was experimenting with funk rock influences for her upcoming solo album. She entered Olympic Studios in London, a hotspot for major British acts, including Zeppelin. On her first day, she was excited, eager to explore something new. She even mentioned that she respected what Zeppelin had done musically, even if it wasn't her style. But that excitement turned into humiliation. As Diana's team began rehearsals in Studio B, Led Zeppelin was wrapping up a session next door. And according to two former engineers, what happened next changed everything. One of Zeppelin's members, reports differ on who, mocked Diana's vocal warm-ups loudly. Another allegedly shouted through the wall, "Hey, turn down that Motown karaoke." Laughter erupted. Diana heard it all. She was devastated, but she didn't show it. Instead, she packed up and left quietly. She didn't come back the next day. The London sessions were scrapped entirely. Her producer tried to explain it away. They didn't mean it personally. But Diana was clear. She never wanted to work in the same space as any member of Led Zeppelin again. To her, it wasn't just a joke. It was disrespect. It was racism, sexism, and cultural elitism wrapped in a single moment. Diana had been battling those things her entire life. But to hear it from fellow musicians, that cut deep. She never named them directly, never called them out in interviews. But close friends confirm Zeppelin was a blacklisted name in her presence. When tribute albums were planned in the 2000s, Diana refused to cover or be associated with anything rock-related that included Zeppelin. It wasn't just a personal slight. It was a symbolic one. To Diana Ross, that moment in 1972 proved that even at the peak of her career, she would always have to fight harder, sing louder, and stand taller, just to be treated equally. Diana Ross didn't hate lightly. For someone who carved her way to the top of an industry that wasn't built for her, the word hate didn't come from ego. It came from pain, from betrayal, from years of being talked down to, mocked, or passed over, even after she had proven herself 10 times over. Her list of most hated bands isn't just a story of rivalry. It's a map of the scars left behind in her rise to superstardom. If this story opened your eyes to the hidden battles Diana Ross fought behind the fame, drop a like and subscribe, because we've got more untold legends coming soon.